right. So we're going to dive right into it, all 38 eyeballs. So this topic is surprising reasons why you're not seeing your sculpted muscles. Okay. So let's start with number one. The first one is you either have too much muscle adaptation or too much muscle confusion, which I will now term muscle over confusion. It's either one of those spectrums you may have. Now, when I say muscle adaptation, it's you've been training for a while. You know, a lot of you have been working out for years and years and years, but you say nothing is happening, nothing is changing for you. And so one of the possibilities is that you've been doing the same thing for a long time and your body is adapted. It's just, you know, it doesn't matter if you do more of it. You know, let's just say you're going to these group classes or you're doing whatever group classes you enjoy, and you're just like, okay, I need to work harder. And so you go to more group classes or whatnot. Is not necessarily going to help you, because if it's really the same type of training stimulus, you're not going to get any gain out of that. Now, that may not be overly surprising, but you'd be surprised how many people actually say like, oh, I do so much of this. I go to all these group classes, but I never see any results. And the answer is not, you need to do more, because sometimes when you do more, you're actually overstressing your body. It's actually, you need different type of stimulus, right? You need a different type of training involved with it. So you could potentially be muscle adapted. That could be a possibility. But here's the other edge of the sword, okay? Is you may be muscle over confusion, and Clarice termed that myself, muscle over confusion. So muscle over confusion are kind of individuals who jump around a lot, you know, like, oh, let's try this. Oh, there's this program. Oh, I see this YouTube. Oh, I'm on Instagram, so I see this move. And so you try this back move, you try this move, you try this chest move, you try that leg move, you try this glute move, and you over confuse your muscles. And this is something I know some of the people who have more experience in the fitness industry sometimes will ask me, they're like, oh, but I thought muscle confusion is a good thing. And I'm like, not over confusion though, right? Over confusion, when you jump around like that, you never give your muscles a chance to actually really develop. So I want all of you to kind of, listen and take a kind of understand or picture of this is, if your body is first doing a new move, think about when you first started learning to ride a bike, or you started even learning how to drive a car. Remember when I first started trying to learn to drive a car, I kept pressing on the brakes, you know, like just because I was so nervous. But when you're first trying to do a new move, what is your body actually trying to do? Your body is trying to form new neural connection pathways between that muscle to your mind, right? So the neural connection is being newly formed. So you're not going to be having any muscle growth in that period. You have to get through a muscle adaptation period before it can actually get to enough of a stressor to then change the muscle. So if you over confuse your muscle and you jump around and you love all the varieties and everything possible, and if you don't see results, now if you see results, good for you. You know, maybe you're there's a possibility you could be an athlete that you're super fit, that like things don't stress your body like that and you pick up things really fast. That is possible. But if you're working out tons and tons, or you find you're jumping around to different programs or doing lots of different exercises, but you never see results in your body, that could be either you're too muscle adapted or you're muscle overly confusing or over confusion. And just keep in mind, you need an adaptation period for that muscle before you can actually even produce enough stress in it to change it. Okay. So typically I would say you want to stick to a good program, a solid program for at least 2 to 3 months. If you're really new, maybe even 4 months, but then you can then progress it and change it. And it doesn't mean somebody who is more adapted easily, like let's say they adapt within 6 weeks. We can progress that too. So it's not like black and white, but you do need to stick to a program more solidly in order to see muscle growth. If any of you study, like, let's say neurology and the development of synapses and things, it's a real thing, right? It is about developing those neuron pathways in your brain. That's what neuroplasticity is all about. That's why even at any age, you can still learn. It's actually amazing. Our brains are amazing. But when it is developing new pathways, you cannot expect your body to be developing muscle when it's developing new pathways. So you need to stick to a program in order to develop the proper neural connections to then build the right muscle development, right? So yeah, it is exactly what you're saying, Cami, about like muscle memory, right? I actually suspect a lot of people are susceptible to this. I'll tell you why, because of social media. Because social media, there's so much available that it actually is to people's disadvantage to actually like do all the moves in the world and you never stabilize on a single routine. The next one, number 2, is you don't stretch or foam roll enough your muscles. Now, this may not be super surprising. Like I said, like point number 1 to 9 or so is, I think some people will know, but I think there's some really unique points coming later. So number 2, you don't stretch or foam roll your muscles enough. So I'm going to explain why. So we work so hard. Typically people who join the Fierce Woman community are people who like really want to build muscle. It's just even the name Fierce like draws people to want to build strong bodies, right? And so I take it that a lot of you want to build strong muscles, strong body. But the problem is if you work so hard on your muscles, you know that when you're actually stressing those muscles, what are you doing? You're creating microfiber tears in your muscle, right? In order to build new muscle. So when you microfiber tear your muscles, you want to think of it like almost scarring over, just like on the surface of your skin when something scars over. So it becomes stiffer, right? How many of you have experienced that stiffness? We all have, right? When you're training hard, working hard, if you do a Clarice workout for the first time, you're going to be sore. You will be sore the next few days, okay? So the thing is, why is that happening is because you're creating that microfiber tear. So this is a good thing, don't get me wrong. But here's the thing is if you don't learn to stretch out the muscle after they've stiffened up and tightened up or scar tissued over, you're going to have what? A decreased ROM range of motion. And your decreased range of motion is going to impact your muscle development, okay? So this is really crucial because if you can't reach the full range of your motion, you're going to compromise the shape of your muscle. You're not going to have the beautiful lines and the shapes that you want because you're not flexible. Your muscles are not going to the end range. So I know that I emphasize this quite a lot with my clients about stretching. They have stretch programs in their workout programs. And in my Fierce Factor group coaching, you guys have yoga with Brooke, because why? Because I know that even though you may think stretching has nothing to do with your muscle growth, but actually it has a lot to do with your muscle growth. Yeah, so you definitely want to make sure you stretch, and stretching prevents injury, as you know, right? As you start to lift heavier and you want to create more muscle development, if you go heavier without stretching, you're probably more likely to what? Tear your muscle, injure yourself. So that's going to be extremely important, right? Lisa, you said, I used to do a yoga class before pandemic. Need to do at home on Sundays. Yes, definitely make sure you guys are stretching more, foam rolling as well. Particularly, I will say foam rolling for your legs. If you're really looking to build your quads and your glutes, those ladies who have told me this, as you learn to work out your legs more, but you don't foam roll your legs out, you are going to be limited in your range more and more because you're getting more and more stiff in the IT band on the side of your leg, right? So just keeping that in mind. Okay, so how many of you feel, if you've already told me, if you wrote it there, that's fine. If you haven't written it yet, put how many of you feel you don't stretch enough. Put stretch more if you think you need to stretch more. Okay, put stretch more below if you think you should stretch more. How much time should you spend stretching? To be honest, it varies for each person because it depends on your intensity and level of workout. But I would say like at least probably 10 minutes. I mean, sometimes I spend to like 20 to 30 minutes stretching, but I mean, not everybody has that type of time, but at least maybe 10 minutes. I mean, you should be stretching, particularly the muscles you've worked, right? If you've worked chest, you should be stretching your pec muscles, or else what? Over time, you're so stiff here, you can't even get the range of motion in your chest press anymore, right? So definitely you need to stretch the muscles that particularly you're working on. Yeah, I see a lot of stretch more. Awesome. I'm glad this is making sense to all 48 eyeballs. Hi, 48 eyeballs.